Sometimes destiny takes the scenic route. Sometimes the path you were meant to walk gets detoured, twisted, delayed by circumstances you couldn't control or decisions made in moments you can't take back. But eventually, if the universe has any sense of poetry, that path circles back around and presents you with a second chance to get it right. Welcome back to Lakers News Fan Report, your absolute #1 destination for breaking news, insider analysis, and every single development surrounding our Los Angeles Lakers. I'm here to bring you the stories that matter, the context behind the headlines, and the truth about what's really happening inside the organization we all bleed purple and gold for. And today, I need to talk to you about something that's been quietly building momentum in circles that understand how this league really works. Something that could fundamentally alter the trajectory of our season and possibly give us the missing piece we've been searching for all year long. Picture this scenario for a moment. You're a championship-proven veteran sharpshooter with 5 rings to your name, a legacy cemented in basketball history, and a reputation as one of the deadliest three-point specialists the game has ever seen. You made a decision last summer based on what you thought was the best situation for the next chapter of your career. You signed with a franchise that promised contention, that had the pieces to compete, that seemed like the perfect landing spot to add another championship to your resume while proving you still had elite basketball left in your tank. But then reality hits differently than expectations. Injuries derail the roster. The competitive timeline shifts dramatically. Suddenly you're not playing meaningful basketball in February. You're watching young prospects get developmental minutes while you sit on the bench wondering how this became your reality. And the franchise that you actually wanted to join, the team that was your first choice all along, is right there in your hometown competing for playoff positioning with a superstar you now share the roster with in a completely different context than anyone imagined 6 months ago. That's not a hypothetical scenario. That's the current reality for Klay Thompson, and it's a reality that could have massive implications for the Lakers moving forward. Now, before I get into the specifics of what's happening behind the scenes, I need you to understand the broader context of why this matters so much for our franchise. The Lakers are in a fascinating position right now. We have LeBron James still operating at an incredibly high level despite being in his 23rd season. We have Anthony Davis, when healthy, being one of the most dominant two-way players in basketball. We added Luka Doncic in a move that shocked the league and gave us another generational offensive talent. But here's the problem we're still facing. We lack consistent perimeter shooting from players who can create their own shot and punish defenses that load up to stop our stars. We have role players who can knock down open threes when the defense rotates, but we don't have that elite shooter who can get hot and single-handedly swing the momentum of a playoff series with his ability to score in bunches from beyond the arc. Klay Thompson, even at this stage of his career, is still that guy. He's not the prime Klay who could drop 60 points in 3 quarters or guard the opponent's best perimeter player for 40 minutes straight. But he's still a dangerous shooter who commands respect the moment he crosses half-court. Still a player who can get nuclear hot and bury 5 threes in 6 minutes when the game is on the line. Still a championship-tested veteran who knows exactly what it takes to win at the highest level. And according to information that's coming from extremely reliable sources with direct connections to Thompson's inner circle, the Lakers might be about to get an opportunity to add exactly that kind of player without having to sacrifice significant assets or gut the roster to make it happen. Let me walk you through what's developing in Dallas right now, because understanding the Mavericks situation is crucial to understanding why Thompson could potentially become available. Dallas signed Klay to a 3-year, $50 million contract last summer after he ended his 11-year run with Golden State. The idea was simple: pair him with Luka Doncic, add a championship-proven shooter to a young star's supporting cast, and make a serious run at contention. But then Anthony Davis went down with injury. Then Kyrie Irving's knee issues flared up again. Suddenly, the Mavericks found themselves in a situation where their competitive timeline for this season completely evaporated. They're not making the playoffs. They're not competing for anything meaningful. And when you're a franchise in that position, especially with a loaded draft class coming up featuring generational prospects like Cooper Flagg, you start making different kinds of calculations about how to use the rest of your season. The Mavericks have young guards who need developmental minutes. They have prospects who need to learn how to play NBA basketball through actual game experience, not practice reps. Brandon Williams and several other young pieces need the court time to develop into potential rotational players for the future. And when you're prioritizing development over veteran minutes, When you're essentially punting on the current season to position yourself for the draft lottery, playing Klay Thompson 30 minutes a night doesn't make sense anymore. It doesn't help your lottery odds. It doesn't develop your young players. It only serves to potentially reduce the draft positioning you're trying to maximize. That creates a very real possibility that Dallas could approach Thompson about a contract buyout, essentially releasing him from the final year of his deal to pursue opportunities elsewhere while the Mavericks focus on tanking properly for draft position. Now here's where it gets extremely interesting for Lakers fans. John Ireland, who serves as the radio voice of the Lakers and maintains incredibly close connections throughout the organization and the broader basketball world, made some revelatory comments on ESPN LA's Mason and Ireland show that should have every Lakers fan paying very close attention. Ireland, who notably has a personal relationship with Klay's father Mitchell Thompson dating back decades, stated that he has it on good authority that if Klay Thompson gets bought out by Dallas, the very first call his agent would make would be to the Lakers. Not Golden State, not Miami, not any other contender looking for shooting. The Lakers. Because according to Ireland's sources, Klay would love to finish his career in Los Angeles. Think about what that means for a moment. Thompson reportedly had the Lakers as his preferred destination when he was exploring free agency options last summer before ultimately choosing Dallas because of the opportunity to play with Luka Doncic. That preference for Los Angeles wasn't about chasing a bigger contract or maximizing his pay. It was about location, about legacy, about the opportunity to play for the most storied franchise in basketball in one of the world's greatest cities. Well, now Luka Doncic is a member of the Lakers after the Blockbuster trade that brought him to Los Angeles. The situation that Thompson thought he was getting in Dallas by playing alongside Luka is now available in LA, except with significantly better supporting pieces around him and a much clearer path to championship contention. The puzzle pieces that didn't quite align last summer have suddenly shifted into a configuration that makes perfect sense for everyone involved. Ireland went further in his analysis, explaining that Klay did not sign up for a rebuild when he chose Dallas. He signed up to compete for championships to add to his legacy to prove he could still be a key contributor on a contending team. The Mavericks are now going to do exactly what Thompson was trying to avoid by leaving Golden State in the first place. They're rebuilding. They're developing young players. They're prioritizing future draft picks over current season success. And according to Ireland's understanding of the situation, there's a very real possibility that Dallas lets Klay out of his contract specifically because they're not going to play him meaningful minutes anyway. Why pay a veteran $15 million to sit on the bench when you could let him pursue his championship aspirations elsewhere while you tank properly and give those minutes to prospects? The timeline here is crucial to understand. The NBA trade deadline is February 5th. That's the cutoff date where teams have to finalize their rosters for the playoff push through either trades or roster moves. If the Mavericks haven't found a trade partner for Thompson by that deadline, and if they've made the organizational decision to fully commit to the tank and prioritize the Cooper flag sweepstakes, then a buyout becomes the most logical path forward. Thompson would clear waivers, become a free agent, and be able to sign with any team for the remainder of the season. And if Ireland's information is accurate, if his sources close to the Thompson family are telling him the truth, then the Lakers would be first in line to land one of the greatest shooters in basketball history. Let me paint you a picture of what the Lakers' rotation could look like with Klay Thompson in purple and gold. Imagine lineups where you have LeBron facilitating, Luka creating off the dribble, AD dominating in the paint, and Klay spotting up in the corner ready to punish any help defender who dares to leave him open. Imagine playoff possessions where defenses have to account for 3 legitimate offensive superstars, plus one of the most dangerous catch-and-shoot specialists ever to play the game. Imagine the spacing that creates, the driving lanes that open up, the impossible decisions opposing coaches have to make about who to prioritize defensively. This isn't just about adding another shooter. This is about adding a championship-proven veteran who's been in every high-pressure situation imaginable and never flinched. Someone who's hit series-changing shots on the biggest stages. Someone who knows exactly what it takes to win multiple championships. The fit makes sense from every conceivable angle. Defensively, while Klay isn't the lockdown perimeter defender he was in his prime, he's still smart positionally, and he's still capable of holding his own against most opposing guards. He understands defensive rotations at an elite level, he communicates effectively, and he brings championship-level defensive habits that can elevate the entire team's intensity. Offensively, he's the perfect complement to ball-dominant creators like LeBron and Luka. He doesn't need plays run for him. He doesn't need high usage. He just needs to get his feet set in rhythm and let it fly when the defense rotates. That's the exact profile the Lakers need to maximize their offensive potential in playoff basketball. From a financial perspective, a buyout scenario works perfectly for the Lakers. Thompson would have to clear waivers, at which point he could sign for the veteran minimum or whatever amount the Lakers could offer given their salary cap situation. That means acquiring an elite shooter without having to sacrifice any rotation players or draft assets. You're not giving up Austin Reeves or any young pieces. You're not sending out future picks. You're simply presenting Klay with the opportunity to compete for a championship in his preferred destination, and he chooses to accept that opportunity. It's the kind of savvy roster management that championship teams execute when the opportunity presents itself. Now I know what some of you are thinking. What about the Golden State connection? Haven't there been reports about Klay potentially returning to the Warriors to finish his career where it started? Those reports exist, and they're not wrong about Thompson's affection for Golden State and his relationship with Steph Curry. Steven has publicly stated he'd love to see Klay back in a Warriors uniform, even if just for a ceremonial one-day contract to retire properly. But here's the critical distinction. Those conversations are about legacy, about how Thompson's story ends symbolically years from now. They're not about what makes sense for his career right now in February of 2026 when he still has high-level basketball to play and championships to pursue. Steph himself acknowledged that a reunion seems like a far distant reality, even though he's obviously open to it eventually. The Warriors are in a different place than the Lakers competitively. They're retooling, they're transitioning, they're figuring out what comes next after the dynasty years. They're not in position to make a serious championship run this season. The Lakers absolutely are, especially if they can add the kind of elite shooting that Thompson provides. So when you're Klay Thompson at this stage of your career, when you're weighing your options and thinking about how you want to spend what might be your final seasons as a professional basketball player, the choice between joining a Lakers team competing for championships versus returning to Golden State for nostalgia purposes becomes pretty clear. You can always go back to Golden State for the farewell tour. You can always retire as a Warriors legend. But you can't always join a championship-contending Lakers team led by LeBron James, Luka Doncic, and Anthony Davis when they're specifically targeting you as the missing piece. Ireland emphasized in his comments that the Lakers need to be ready to pounce when this opportunity presents itself. You can't hesitate. You can't wait and see how things develop. The moment Thompson becomes available, if he becomes available, the Lakers have to be aggressive in recruiting him and making the case for why Los Angeles is his best option. And honestly, that case makes itself. You're playing for the most iconic franchise in basketball. You're competing for championships immediately. You're in one of the world's greatest cities. You're reuniting with Luka Doncic in the exact situation you thought you were getting in Dallas. Your father is a Lakers legend with deep connections to the organization. Everything about the situation screams that this is where you're supposed to be. The buyout market has historically been where smart contenders find valuable rotation pieces in the second half of the season. We've seen it happen countless times where veterans on non-competitive teams get released and immediately sign with title contenders looking for experienced depth. The difference here is that we're not talking about a marginal rotation player or a washed veteran hoping for one last chance. We're talking about Klay Thompson, a five-time champion, a player who's been to 6 NBA Finals, someone who's made arguably the biggest shots in recent playoff history. Even at this stage of his career, he's an impact player who can change the complexion of a playoff series with his shooting ability alone. I want to be clear about something. Nothing is confirmed yet. Thompson is still technically under contract with Dallas. The Mavericks haven't officially committed to a full-tank job. The buyout hasn't happened, but the pieces are aligning in a way that makes this scenario increasingly plausible with each passing day. Dallas continues to lose games. Their lottery positioning improves with each loss. The incentive to shut down veterans and play young prospects grows stronger. And Thompson's preference for joining the Lakers if given the opportunity has been established by credible sources with direct access to his camp. That's not speculation. That's not wishful thinking. That's reported information from people who would know. The February 5th deadline is approaching fast. We're talking about a matter of days before teams have to finalize their championship rosters for the playoff push. The Lakers are already in a good position, already dangerous when healthy, already capable of competing with anyone when their stars are clicking. But adding Klay Thompson would transform this team from a dangerous playoff squad into a legitimate championship favorite. You're talking about adding proven championship pedigree, elite shooting, playoff experience, and veteran leadership all in one move without sacrificing anything from your current core. That's the kind of opportunity you simply cannot pass up when it presents itself. I'm genuinely excited about this possibility because it addresses exactly what we need at exactly the right time. Dallas buys him out, which looks increasingly likely given their current trajectory. The Lakers would be his preferred destination according to credible reporting. Adding Thompson would give us the elite shooting and championship experience we need to maximize our title chances this season. The fit is perfect, the timing is right, and the opportunity is there. Now we just need to see if it actually happens. Stay locked in because the next few days could be absolutely crucial for the rest of our season. Make sure you're subscribed to Lakers News Fan Report right now if you haven't already. And smash that notification bell so you don't miss a single update as we track this story. I'll be bringing you breaking news the second anything develops with Klay Thompson or any other potential roster moves. Hit that like button if you found this analysis valuable, share this video with every Lakers fan you know, and keep the conversation going in the comments. This is the kind of move that could define our championship pursuit. Let's follow it together. Until next time, Lakers Nation.